Welcome in, Forgemates. We are talking today about the AMON AMARTH discography. Today is the release of the Great Heathen Army, and that one is going to be included on our tier list.
What is your ranking for AMON AMARTH? Leave that down in the comments. While you're at it, hit the like button, bash its head in even if you want to, /subscribe, and let's get into it. We're going to start right at the top with our criteria, which is 1S, 2 A's, and then whatever after that. So,
Yep.
challenge you guys to do it. We're going to start chronologically. We're going to start with One Sent from the Golden Hall.
Yeah, 1998. I really think early AMON AMARTH kind of suffers from a couple things. Production issues, sloppy playing. I have to give major kudos to the band for knowing what they want to sound like and just going for it. This is 1998. Melodic death metal's still kind of in its infancy. Some songs on this record really sound tighter than others. Victorious March is the clear winner on this record and maybe one of the most notable songs of their entire catalog. You know, I think if you're going to make a playlist of their early stuff, I'd be sure to add that song. I give this one a B.
Yeah.
A solid B.
I'm there with you too. I gave it a B as well, only because really of Victorious March. It would be higher if the production was better, if the performances were better, but honestly, it's a debut album, and this was at a time period where tightness was sort of something that was not really included in a lot of metal albums. This one's definitely a B for me. And cute story. Yes, metalheads can have cute stories. My first date with my wife over 14 years ago, they played Victorious March live. And when they did the solo, that was like the moment I fell in love. So cute. Aww.
With her and AMON AMARTH?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, let's...
That was a victorious march and for our victorious relationship.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's throw that one in B then. That's pretty...
Yeah.
That was pretty well agreed upon.
Yeah, we're going to do B.
Following very quickly with the Avenger, this really is the definition of a sophomore slump for me. You know, you think they would get away from the weird production from the record. I think they might have just been on a tear and they just went for it. It's still pretty rough, the production. The songs are really kind of generally the same tempo, so you don't really have that, you know, dynamics as far as the pacing goes. All the songs kind of mushed together. It's really not one I would recommend. I can't even think of like a highlight song. I put it in D.
I have it in D as well. There is one song on this record, and that's the last with Pagan Blood. But like, to be honest, this album slumps real freaking hard, and I'd be hard pressed to even bother recommending it to somebody who is new to AMON AMARTH.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm with you there. I think it's gonna be D
for sure.
All right, which one is that?
They all look the same. The Avenger is the one with the swords. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
All right. Half of them have swords.
Yeah. And fire and faces and Vikings that are doing steroids.
Yeah. I feel like you can play a joke of like AMON AMARTH album or Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah, right. Your Frank Rosetta painting.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the Crusher.
Yeah, early 2000s, I think AMON AMARTH, when I first heard this, I really enjoyed it. It still has rough production, but there's something different from the first two albums that kind of works in favor for how the band approaches the music. There's beefy low end, which is kind of missing from the first two, and the unique guitar tone that AMON AMARTH is now known for starts to kind of finally take shape. So I didn't want to like stick it in the D category too hard. I think that unfortunately there's not a lot of great songs on here. I'd put it lower on the list. I went with a C for this one.
I agree with you. I think a lot of AMON AMARTH fans are going to agree with this list. The Crusher is like, in my opinion, that like last flickering light left in the band just to keep going. You know, they're like doubling down on the stuff that worked for them and really going into that for the Crusher. There's not, like you said, not a lot of notable songs on this album other than like Bastards of a Lying Breed and As the Raven Flies. Definitely an improvement though over Avenger. So for that alone, I gave it a C too.
Cool. Yeah, well, we're pretty much in agreement so far.
Oh, wow.
And
which one is this?
That one in the middle next to Berserker.
This one?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Wow.
The Crusher and C. more of the 2000s era of Amon Amarth. We got Versus the World in 2003. This is where Amon Amarth really started to stick their axe in my heart. I honestly don't revisit this album much, but some of the best songs that they've ever written are on Versus the World, in my opinion. Notably, and obviously, Death and Fire, Across the Rainbow Bridge is a total freaking banger, and 1,000 Years of Oppression. The rest of the record is great, but it's not my favorite. I went with B here.
Gotcha. This is actually my least revisited because I spun the shit out of it when I was a teenager. I listened to this album hundreds of times. It's very well paced. This is by far my favorite record from them. It kind of started the trilogy of my favorite era of Amon Amarth, because as you'll see with the next couple albums, I really highly rate them. Songs like Where Silent Gods Stand Guard and Across the Rainbow Bridge are just fucking epic, dude. This album really perfected the Amon Amarth formula. It still has elements of some of that raw production that haunted the first few albums, but honestly, they make it work with this one. Everything is here. This is the pinnacle for me. This is my S tier. This is the first S tier I'm going
I mean, a lot of fans would agree with you on Versus the World being S tier. But we have to meet in the middle here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have B, you have S, so I guess we got to throw in an A.
We'll throw it an A. Yeah,
All
well,
right.
that's a happy medium.
I can't really see from here.
Far right.
This guy.
Yeah.
So, Versus the World going in A.
Not bad.
Fate of Norns, here we go. One of my all-time favorites from the band, where Amon Amarth, in my opinion, is just nailing their sound. The entire album is amazing here, and when I suggest Amon Amarth albums to check out to people, Fate of Norns is up there. The production is a little strange, in my opinion. The drums are kind of clicky, but the songwriting is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best in their catalog by far. There isn't really a song that I skip, to be honest, and Pursuit of Vikings alone is just the reason to love it.
Yeah. Yep.
I gave it an A.
A, okay. I think this is a great follow-up to Versus the World. You know, like I said, this is my trio of favorites. You know, 8 tracks, 40 minutes, perfect runtime. Dude, Where Death Seems to Dwell, Pursuit of Vikings. You know, just the mid-pace melodic death bangers that Amon makes on this record, you know, it just makes it stand on its own. I actually really like the production on this. I think it's super unique. I love the drum tone, and Johann's placement of the vocals in the mix is really cool. Guitars aren't really as tight as I want them to be. I gave this an A. I think that this is A worthy for sure. A.
Which we've put to an A.
Yes.
With Odin on Our Side in 2006, another banger in the Amon Amarth catalog. It was surprising to hear them put out killer records back to back. And not only that, the production is absolutely nailed here. So many anthems on this record that are just staples to their live set too. The guitars are massive, and this is one of the albums that I could just easily listen to front to back.
Yeah, dude, like I said, this completes the trilogy. I think the rest of their albums look up to these 3 albums. You know, like you said, dude, the production, so good on here. Drums, guitars, bass, everything feels very well mixed. The guitars have finally been dialed in. There isn't a single song on this record that I want to skip. Practically perfect in every way. You gave it an S. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You gave it an A. I gave it an A. And we already are maxed out at 2 A's.
I think we should put it at A for now.
Okay.
And then we will move it around later once we got everything up.
Yep.
So we're violating.
We're violating for the time being,
but that's okay.
We will not finish with violations.
Yes. With Odin on Our Side is this one, right?
Yes, the weird one.
Yeah. With Odin on our waste of an album art.
$20 budget.
Yeah. We got to 2008 now.
Yeah.
Twilight of the Thunder God. My absolute favorite.
All right.
In their entire catalog, and many people are going to agree. I'm kind of a basic bitch when it comes to Amon Amarth. But this is the album, in my opinion, you get a nice tour of what the band can do. There's, you know, your typical galloping tremolo guitars that are harmonized, but you've also got groovier songs with like slower, heavy power chords and some awesome, crazy triplet riffing that we didn't even really know the band could do that tight. The full showcase is really here, and the band is just firing on all warships. The production, in my opinion, is even better than with Odin on Our Side. Everything is just balanced and honestly perfect. All-time favorite. So many anthems, and you can tell that this is the album where they're writing for live audience. You know, there's so many sing-along parts, and, you know, they're starting to do the prop thing and all that stuff. So I gave this one an S.
Yeah, this is where we kind of diverge a little bit. I rated it a little lower when I revisited it, but then I was like, you know, I don't think it deserves where I initially put it. You know, I think that the title track is awesome. There are definitely some strong tracks, but I think some of them kind of fall a bit short of my expectations and tend to sound a little generic. Guardians of Asgard, Where is Your God, and Varyags of Milkagard, to me, are kind of skippable. Nothing really stands out to really rate it any higher than a B. So I put it at B, you have it at S. So this is definitely...
We're beefing now, because Guardian of Asgard is that...
Oh, dude. That's it. And that, I was just singing that, too. So here I am saying that's skippable, and that was an earworm.
Yeah.
Oh, shame on me, then.
We're the Guardians.
Yeah.
That's an awesome song. Where's the beef, Ben?
Well...
What are we doing? I mean, either way.
Let's put it at A. Let's put it at A. We have A is kind of stacked right now.
Well, I mean, there are 3 A's in Amon Amarth's band name, so...
Okay. But this will add 4.
Yeah, so I'm Amon Amarth.
Amon
Amarth.
Okay. Yeah, I mean...
We're gonna have to duke that out.
We're duking that one out for sure.
Surtur Rising, not really rising. This is not a rising album. It's a good album from 2011, but one of the biggest surprises about Surtur Rising, in my opinion, is the band started to experiment with like orchestral sounds to beef up like the emotional sections of the songwriting, which I thought was really cool. And songs like Slaves of Fear, Last Stand of Frey are standout songs really because of that reason. But other than that, I don't really think this album is doing anything better than what they've done before. The production's great. That Ariel's cover is random too. Like, why the fuck did they even do that?
I did not like that at all. Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head with the 2 best songs. Slaves of Fear might be like underneath Victorious March as far as one of their greatest songs. This album also has kind of one of their best solo sections, and Last Stand of Frey, fucking awesome solo, something that you don't really expect from this band. Like a Beast Am I, kind of lame, like pretty cringy. At the end of the record, you know, you got the Ariel's cover, didn't really connect with that. I also don't mind when they want to get emo and doomy, but I think Cry of the Blackbirds is a far superior song than Doom Over Dead Man. Yeah. So, what did I put it as? B. Yeah, I think a B was fair for that one.
Yeah, I also have it at B, which I think makes sense. And
yeah.
I mean, I honestly think we're probably going to end up moving that down because some stuff from A is too high up
much
there.
better than Surtur Rising. Yep.
Yeah. So Surtur Rising is going to fall.
Yep. I'm sorry about Surtur. Deceiver of the Gods. What do you think? I think this album kind of fell on its face.
Yeah, this is not a good album. This album is it's very overrated. Everybody raves about Deceiver of the Gods, but I think honestly you guys are just a little enamored by the title track, and that's about it. It's fantastic, I'll give you that. It's very catchy, some killer melodic death metal riffing, but other than that, a lot of the songs on here are very lackluster and not really doing anything better than they've already done before. The production here, though, I will give you this, is freaking insane. But honestly, what a fantastic coat of paint to put on very average to below average songs in their catalog.
Yeah, dude. I think Under Siege is the most noteworthy song on here. The rest really do sound like copy pasta. I respect their attempt at doing something unique with the closing track with Warriors of the North. They always have this thing where like the closing track is going to be like our experimental thing, but it feels like they were like ashamed of it. So they like put it at the end. They're like, we don't want you to hear this until you're done with the record. I don't know. The clean vocals with Johans it's fine, but it's not like, oh my fucking god. It doesn't feel like an Amon Amarth song, while the rest of the album feels like generic Amon Amarth. I gave it a C, but I almost feel like we're like not excited at all about this one and feel like we should put it lower.
I don't think it's as bad as Berserker or the Avenger, though.
Okay,
that's the thing. So I think it does belong in C.
C. Okay,
but we'll see.
We will.
We will see. Deceiver of the Gods going in DC.
Not the DC universe. So.
No, or Washington, DC. Viking. This is where the band, in my opinion, is just becoming very much copy-paste. Does it sound like Amon Amarth? Abso-fucking-lutely, but I don't really connect with this record more than a couple of songs that were just honestly okay at best. First Kill and Raise Your Horns and The Way of Vikings are worthy of an Amon Amarth playlist, but other than that, this is a highly skippable record.
I think it's interesting that you felt that they were pretty copy-paste, because I actually I thought that this was really experimental. They kind of doubled down on like the whole, let's try some new stuff, introducing Doro. It was one of the accompanying vocalists, kind of pulling at some influences from like classic rock on songs like At Dawn's First Light. There's good songs on here, and one of them is a minute and a half too long, so it's like, what the fuck, you know? So really, there's 2.5 good songs on here. Very skippable album. I put it at D.
I could go down to D, or I could stay at C, but it's not as good as Surtur Rising, so I think going down to D makes sense for Jans Viking.
Yeah.
Berserker. I didn't like a single song on this album.
It's coming out the gate.
Production sounds so fucking weird and just overly compressed. And I don't understand that back pedal, because the guitar tone is just a huge step back. The kick drum sounds like just sticks breaking. I'm really not a fan of Berserker. The lyrics are also a super fucking cringe fest.
Yeah.
I feel like you can play Amon Amarth bingo with all of the tropes that they have on this frickin' record.
Yeah. First of all, who are the 2 million. Oops. Who are the 12 million people that think Raven's Flight is a more listenable song than Valkyria? Ugh, you disgust me, my friends. I wasn't super thrilled to listen to this record, and I didn't let myself down. I found it to be super generic with a few cool, like, okay songs, but nothing that was like, oh, holy shit. Really nothing groundbreaking. Definitely, dude, the cringe spots are like nose warts, bro. It's so obvious. I gave it a C, but honestly, it's like, does it even deserve that? I don't know.
Definitely not. I think it belongs in D territory.
Yeah.
Not a fan. And now we got 2022's The Great Heathen Army. You know, I have to give it to Amon Amarth, because they are putting a lot of effort into making things stand out. They have a killer YouTube channel with a lot of cinematic stuff on there. Their singles are all fantastic. There's like basically freaking Game of Thrones level movies to them.
Right, dude. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I think they are one of the hardest working bands in melodic death. I don't want to say that they're tired. I think their tropes are getting a little tired, because, you know, they hit this huge paramount around the era that Vikings and Game of Thrones were very popular, and, you know, they had like media paying attention to them and stuff like that, and rightfully so. I think that this is a band that has done the hardest work that they could, touring for years on end and shit like that. But they're sounding a little bit tired. I don't think that this record is going to top any of their, you know, mid 2000s stuff. I think it might land around Jans Viking, you know, quality in regard to like the songs, the production, stuff like that. I feel pretty comfortable putting it at a C.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's better than Jans Viking. I think it's definitely better than Berserker, better than Avenger. I put this kind of on par with like Deceiver of the Gods. Like, it's got a couple of good songs on there. You got some, you can tell there's some freaking gas left in the tank with the riffing, with the vocals, with the production, with the performances. But I mean, you can tell that they're sort of a tired horse at this point. The band itself is not tired, but how many freaking albums of the same thing can you put out and it still feel fresh and feel awesome to listen to? For people who love Viking lore and things like that, this is obviously something that's perfect for you, but it's a good album. I will say that.
Yeah.
So I think C makes a ton of sense for great Heathen.
That sounds fair. And now we have to battle it out.
One's got to go up to S.
And one must go down.
And one must go down to B.
Yeah. All right. So let's go through album by album. I put Versus the World. Let's see where did we match, first of all.
I have Twilight up at S. You have Versus the World up at S. So we're not agreeing there.
Right.
Fate of Norns and With Odin on Our Side are both at A.
Wow.
So we should talk about which one of those albums is better. I'm going to go with probably With Odin on Our Side.
Yeah, instinctually that's what I would go with as well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely not going down. So I think With Odin on Our Side is going to go up to S.
Shit.
Wow, I was not expecting that to happen.
No, me neither. Okay, interesting.
So now we have to talk about which one's coming down. So let's look at our Bs. We've got, I have Surtur Rising, which went down to C, Versus the World, One Sent from the Golden Hall.
I think Versus the World is kind of a crux.
Yeah.
It's kind of a crux right now because we're a bit, on two different sides of the spectrum here. So what do we have? Versus the World,
Fate of Norns.
Fate of Norns in
Twilight. If I were to pick one to come down, I would probably say Versus the World's going to come down for me, but I know that's your S.
Right.
So I'd be willing to bring Fate of Norns down to B.
If you are willing, that would be.
But does that mean that Fate of Norns
is as good as Once Sent from the Golden Hall and Surtur Rising? No.
No. It's definitely better.
Oh, God. As I look at the two Bs, I think Versus the World is most comparable as far as like songwriting, but I think the production is a million times better than Once Sent from the Golden Hall. Although Surtur Rising has better production than Versus the World.
Yeah, and we can't go by production, I don't think, because that's not really the band's fault.
That's true, yeah.
And I mean, to be honest, your Versus the World was your S, Twilight was my S, so I think those should stay at A, and based off of that criteria, Fate of Norns should come down.
Right, okay.
So I think that makes sense.
But as you said too, though, that album is superior to its cohorts in that tier. Like I would much rather listen to that one than the other two.
So then we'll have B.5.
B and a half.
Yeah, B, it'll be at the front of B.
Yeah, there you go. The top of B.
Yeah, there's tiers inside the tiers.
Yeah, it's a B+. Yep.
And if that's the case, I agree with that. And I agree with that too.
Yeah.
So
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah,
I think pretty fair. Yeah.
So, what is your tier list for Amon Amarth? What did you think of the new album? Drop that down in the comments below.
As always, our Forgemates, go with the Thunder Gods. Be well.
See you guys next time.